Hey, welcome back to Angler's Life. It's been a minute. We're going to share with you guys the do's and don'ts. We've already taken care of that, but we wanted to share with you guys about a topic. It's called urban fishing. We all know it is fishing in the city. I mean, some of you guys have a spot. Some of you guys have a pond behind a Walmart. Some of you guys fish in your friend's backyard. We're going to get to it. Today, Brian and I are going to share with you the hows, and the how not tos, and the wins and the wheres, and the just everything when it comes to urban fishing. I don't know what you want to call it, Brian. What do you want to call it?
Just fishing in the neighborhood.
Fishing in the neighborhood. You're not going out to a river. I mean, there are cities that have rivers in between them. I came from one. I didn't come like from there. I moved from there, but I came from one that has a river running through. In fact, I'm not too far from a river where it connects to the lake. So there's that. We're not talking about the lakes. We're not talking about the seas. We're talking about literal ponds. Yeah, just is that what they are, Brian? They're ponds
Yeah,
or just
the small
streams.
the
Yeah.
neighborhoods make them when they developers and stuff like that for aesthetics, but they make great little fishing ponds.
I don't know if this. So would the So those of you out there, I don't think you were talking about the forest preserves either, because anybody can fish on those. I think we're usually talking about the ponds. The forest preserves, they usually fill them up. I wonder how they fill the ponds up. Do they do the same thing as they do with the forest preserves? They can just come in and
Yeah, they stock
they're
them.
like fish. They stock. Oh, they do stock them.
Yep, they stock.
Okay.
It's usually like a one-time thing, though.
All right. So the elephant in the room is the challenges. You know, you're fishing on somebody else's property, and sometimes it's a business. Um, it's and like it says, like they say they trespass you. You know, you might as well just leave the fish behind because you ain't going anywhere. You probably might get arrested. I don't know, Brian. I consider you the professional of fishing on other people's properties. I can't say that. I'm usually asking people. Brian's like, "Hey, I found this pond, this fish." Shit, it ain't me. I'm a little sketchy about everything. You know, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Brian's like, yeah, that one right over there. Check, I think it's got a couple fish in there. Shit, it's not me though. What? How would you go about fishing in those ponds? Like, how would you know, first of all, that you can fish in that pond and that there is fish in that pond? How do you know it's not just water, being a water runoff into some little steep hill that just caught all that water?
Well, sometimes you just have to try, but most of the time you look for, I'll say, action on top of the surface. So if you're, as like Mark says, I like to, I'm driving through neighborhoods and stuff. I'll eyeball a body of water, or next to a business or whatever it is. I'll, watch the top of the water, and I'll look for, you look for a little fish up and eating insects, things like that. Then there's fish in there. Usually they're bass. So, so some of the things that I do. First of all, I look for like no trespassing signs. That's the big thing. If they have no trespassing signs, better off is just to keep looking for another. But there's a lot of ponds that I fish. One of them that I like to go to is actually right next to a school, and it's just a giant retention body of water, and I there's people fish there all the time, and there's there's no trespassing signs or anything like that. And I've pulled some. I think the biggest fish I pulled out of there was almost 6 pounds, six
Oh
pound
shit!
largemouth. So yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. There's a buddy of mine at work was telling me about a pond down not too far from where we work, and there's he said it's full of crappies. So him and I are planning a trip over there. We're gonna go see if we can get some crappies this spring. Yeah, it's just you just have to watch what you're doing and be respectful. And most of the time, if you're respectful, people aren't going to say much. There is like I'll watch for like the areas that are being developed. The little town that I live in, there was a small pond next to the bowling alley that was it was out there and it was all overgrown, but I had to walk down to it and we could catch bass out of that little pond as well. It's just usually I go in the morning, early in the mornings when there's not a lot of people around, and you just like I said, just be respectful to the area. Don't cause don't be out there yelling and screaming. Don't be tramping through people's traveling through people's yards and things like that. But usually if you stay around the edges and most of the time people aren't going to say anything to you, and if they do, then you be respectful and you walk and you leave. But most of the time they don't really care.
Yeah, for us that don't know, there's some. I didn't know this until I met Brian. I didn't know that there was like these towns, like these not towns, but these subdivisions that have these like little lakes. Now I'm looking for them. They have like these little ponds, and I didn't realize like there was this one lake that I went to. Is it Mallard Lake? And
Yep.
that's within a subdivision, and I didn't know that until I looked around the surroundings. I kind of knew it was within the city, but that is one. It was a lake, but it is in a subdivision. I didn't know that there was like these ponds all over the place. Like there's a lot of subdivisions that have these ponds, and I'm still trying to figure out the reason why they have those ponds. Like, is it just water runoff or?
Some of them are water runoffs. Some of them are there for aesthetics, to sell properties.
Okay,
They'll make a lake just to, the bigger the bigger ones are usually for aesthetics and things like that to get people to buy the property. It's always nice to have your house, backed up to a body of water to kind of get out in the morning and kind of have this little body of water behind your house, a little bit of a view in the morning, things like that. But yeah, that's mostly what they're for. And the best ones to find are ones that back up to a road where there's houses on one side and there's the road on the other. Because then you can actually park your car in the neighborhood, walk down the street, and then kind of go on the side where the houses are not, and you can fish those. And people aren't really going to say anything to you because you're really not on their property. You're on the easement from the city, and you can fish those. Now there are sometimes people they have big signs that no fishing, things like that. Because if you see those signs, most of the time it's probably like a water runoff, and they don't want people fishing and keeping the fish and eating them. It's not not healthy for you. So no, and it's serious because you have all the water runoff from the roads and things like that. So you don't want to be eating the fish out of there. When I was a kid, I used to fish in those ponds all the time, but I always threw everything back. And but now that I'm an adult, I don't really fish those ponds that have those signs on them just for those reasons. But there are a lot of them out there that are, like I said, are made for aesthetics, and they're actually like small lakes, and those are they're the fish are healthy, and then they're fun to catch. So you just have to be aware of what you're doing and where you're doing it at.
so what are the pros and cons to you, Brian, of fishing that pond versus coming up like by me and going fishing on the lake? Do you feel it's just more convenient?
Well, one, it's convenience. Two, the fish. A lot of people don't fish them, so the fish are more active. They're more. You've got more better chances of catching something. Whereas
Right.
up in the chain, those fish are over. They've seen that lure before, so they're less likely. The hit is
That's likely to go on a date with you, basically. They're like,
exactly.
fuck, I don't need this shit. I've seen this one before.
Yeah, but
Fucking
no,
picky ass fish.
they but like these smaller ponds, you can use a wiggle worm set up in or a top water frog or something like that, and you just have fun, go out there and have fun. Now Now the bass you usually catch aren't huge ones, but but you can every once, like I said, you can find that one pond that you pull a 6 pounder out of it, and you're going to be going back to that same spot trying to catch other ones. And the one lake that I go to was actually behind, like, over by a Walmart where I catch these fish. I've caught in several 3 to 6 pound fish out of that lake. And I remember one was about 3 years, 2 years ago. I had a really good day. I think I got like 5 or 6 fish out of that one area, about that size. And yeah, it's fun to go over there.
Are you talking about the one behind the Walmart
Not the one right behind that one. That one's there's no
or the
fish in it.
square one?
I'm talking about the one that's a little bit, about maybe a quarter mile down the road behind
The
that.
cul-de-sac?
Yeah, and
Okay, I
that
remember that one.
yeah, that lake is a good producer. The fish are really healthy. They have a wide variety. They have crappie. They have perch. They have smallmouth, largemouth. So it's a good fishing lake, and it's great because kids can go there and fish, and people don't bother. I remember last summer I was out there, and a kid was catching bluegill, and I kind of asked him, I said, "You catching bluegill, huh?" He goes, "Oh, this is bait for the bigger fish." And after he kind of threw a few of the bluegill, hooked one on and tossed it out there, and he caught a big old bass. So he knew what he was doing. It was pretty impressive. But I like seeing that, and the more, especially this last summer, I noticed a lot more kids out
Right.
fishing these ponds. They were. I've seen more kids fishing in the last year than I have in the last 5, and I think that's great. And then one of the reasons is because they have these ponds that they can go fishing to. They don't have to
Right.
go down to the river, or where it's a little more dangerous, and they can go to these little ponds and just shore fish, and it's great. And they don't have to have anything fancy lure. They just go dig some worms up and a bobber and a hook, and they just throw it out there.
So easy. Get
Yeah.
yourself a stick, get yourself some line and a hook.
So
Stick, line, hook.
I do have a story. A buddy of mine wanted to learn how to fish, and so I told him I'd take him fishing, and he went out and bought, I don't know, like $200 worth of fishing gear. Bought a fancy tackle box, all these lures, and this nice pole, and I took him fishing, and we were fishing for about 2 hours, and he hadn't gotten anything. And this young boy come up on a bicycle, and he had a pop can and some line and a can of corn, and and he put some corn on this hook, and took the line, and he just kind of went like this and threw it out there, and then put the pop can on the ground and put a big rock on top of that, and sat there and just squatted down and sat there and waited. The kid may be there 10 minutes, and all of a sudden that rock started hitting that, or that pop can started hitting that rock like this, and he reeled in this 4.5 pound fish, and put
Nice.
it put it on his stringer and rode back home, like kind of like his mom said, "Hey, go catch dinner." He came down and got it. And my buddy got so mad, he threw all his stuff in his tackle box and went home. Some kid with a pop can out fishing him. But that's the kind of
That
thing.
happens.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Those like where these kids can just come down and enjoy themselves. It's just a good thing to see. I don't know, when I was growing up when I was a kid, there was a pond, a couple blocks from my house, and I was there every day. So it brings back good memories, to see these kids out there in these urban ponds. So if you're a property owner and you see a kid out there fishing, man, just let him fish. He's not doing anything to your property. He's just out there trying to catch some fish. He's just trying
You were a kid once. You were a
Yep.
kid once. And if you had a shitty childhood, that's not that kid's fault.
Yep.
You can make somebody else's life a lot better and feel good about it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fishing is one of those things where people get away. And I mean, everybody deals with a lot of shit in life. I mean, a lot. I mean, and as the world is just getting to that point where we're going to hit an intersection somewhere, fishing's just one of those places to kind of get away from it. Knowing that it's going to get there, we're going to get to that point of that intersection of whatever's going to happen is happening. All this stuff is happening. Fishing's kind of like, I'm just going to get myself a little rest away from all this stuff and get away and just have me some peacetime with God, the universe, whatever you believe in. You're going to have that peacetime out there. And that's usually what we do as men too. It's a place where you're just one with nature. You just get out. You're not hearing everything. You're not hearing the problems of the world. I was gonna say something, but my wife might be putting the editing on this. It might not be my daughter's, and so it might get edited out. But definitely fishing is, and they love fishing as well. It's one of those family things that we do where we're just all getting together, kind of like baseball and other events where everybody just gets together and just relax. Put the phones away, man. Just you and nature. It's trying to figure out how to catch this fish to begin with, and then decide if you're the person that's going to catch and release. Do be that person to begin with, catch and release, because sometimes it won't be a fish that you're able to take home. But those that do want to keep those fishes, make sure that you get something that's worth taking home. And take some pictures too. Everybody loves pictures of fishes.
Yeah.
Everybody loves that stuff.
And another thing about urban fishing is like there's even like fishing clubs in an area that we live in. I know of a couple fishing clubs where the club actually owns property with a pond or two on it, and you pay like $50 a year, and you and your family can go and use this and utilize this area fishing area as many times as you want. So
Nice.
I mean, there's also those type of options too in the urban areas. And I know I've gone downtown. We live near Chicago. We I've gone downtown to like the Belmont Harbor and things like that. Gone salmon fishing off the piers out there. So yeah, like and Lake Michigan. So I mean, you can even if you want to like, take your family on a trip, and that type of thing, you can pack up the family and go downtown and just fish the piers and during the salmon run, and that's always a fun thing to do too. But like I said, most of the ponds I fish in around here, we don't have a big lakes. I mean, there's the chain up north, but as Mark can tell you, it's big on the weekends. The boat warriors are out there, and
They fuck it all. They fuck it all
yeah,
up, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's like it's great during the week, but if you're a 9 to 5er and you're working Monday through Friday, just forget it. The only time
yeah,
you're gonna get to fish is like early in the morning before dumbass McGee's flying down on his fucking boat with the shirt off and a beer in his hand. And that's why they have the police out there a lot more. But it's gone, like that part of the fishing. That's why people are like really going to these like ponds and stuff,
yep,
because you
yep,
can't put a fucking boat on there. You can't be racing down the road. There's not speed boats, and there's not the wave runners. And the lake is for everybody. I get it, but when you're fishing, man, it's like it's very hard to do that. You got to go early in the morning. I prefer to go early, like 3 to 6 o'clock in the morning. Those are the perfect time for me. Maybe till 7, but when the sunlight comes up, I mean, you kind of have to get to the ridges or deeper water or places where they're going to get under those shadows and stay under that cooler water. My take on it, but I don't like usually fishing in the daytime. I will do it because I like fishing, but I know when you do that, it's a different story. You got to get to the depths. You got to get to the shadows. You have to get to different places where they're going to be under. Because not all fishes are predators. Some of them that are, they're not afraid to go chase another fish that is out there in the open, but they're usually hiding. However, I don't want to be out there in the daytime, especially with people flying down on the
yeah,
lakes. I'd rather be on like one of these ponds, a big pond, or a lake that's not accessible to boats. Where
right,
we're at, it's accessible to boats. I mean, I live in a boat. What do you call it? A lake community, a lake house community, whatever you call that. I'm only a block away from it. That's until I sell my house. We're about ready to leave to Texas, Fort Worth, within the next few months. So that's going to change. And I know where I'm at least setting myself up. I will be by 3 to 4 lakes, and they're pretty huge. They're actually bigger than these ones.
yeah,
So I don't know what life is like going to be like down there in Fort Worth, Dallas area, Arlington, but I know there's a shit ton of lakes,
yeah,
and there's a lot of ponds, a lot of places to fish out there. Just got to watch out for them snakes.
yeah. This is true.
You got to
But
watch out for them snakes.
like we have, so it's just um, when you're like I said, when you're checking out these smaller ponds, if you do live in an area that doesn't have the larger lakes like Mark was talking about, and you really want to do some fishing, check them out. And a lot of the ponds that I fish at, like I said, there's even a few that I'll look at businesses and see these ponds in between the buildings and things like that. And I'll watch for any signs of fish in those ponds. And um, I'll go after hours, park my car, and walk down the pond and go fishing. Like I said, if they don't, if there's no trespassing signs, then then most of the time no one's gonna say anything. If they do, like I said, just be respectful and just say, okay, I'm sorry, and I'll say, and just leave and go find someplace else to fish.
Leave, yeah.
Yeah, but you see these videos of these of people screaming at people, "Get off my land!" Da 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 da. That's not worth it, guys. There's other ponds to fish in, so just reel up and say, "Yep, sorry, won't come back," and this the next one.
And if it's a pond in your community, on your private property community, I think you have the right to fish without a license. Right? Isn't it? You can do that on your own property, private property.
On your own property, yeah, you can do that on your own property if you have a lake on your own
But
property.
if you don't, make sure you have that license.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
hey, the United States of Britain, I mean, America will tax you, so you must get that. You must get it soon, whatever that is in your state or your province, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, depending on what the guy, if you're keeping fish or things like that, the fines can be pretty hefty. They're up to like $1,000. You can lose your poles, and in some cases you can even lose your boat. Just depends on what your fines are and what you've been doing. But yeah, so like I said, just know your regulations. Understand that what you can fish, can't fish with. Some ponds they don't allow live bait. Some do, some don't. You just got to know the regulations for
No
that area.
shit. Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah. There's some they don't want. They don't want if you bring in certain types of bait, they don't want it. If it's not in that pond, if it gets off, they don't want the population of different types of minnows and crawdads or whatever it is. They don't like for example in Illinois, you have to use native crawdads for this area. If you get caught using non-native crawdads, so like example, if you order crawdads from Louisiana or something like that, and they ship them to you, you get caught using those crawdads, you can have a huge fine in the waterways up here. So
if it's already the state's already bad enough, man. It's already have enough laws and corruptions, man. I've already had enough of this state. But I never knew that, man. I never knew. And I'm probably gonna do it anyways if I ever find one of these places, just to give a big fuck you to Illinois when I leave.
Yeah,
because I never knew that you can do that with the fishing. Now Texas will have its own laws.
Yeah,
and I don't mess with Texas. Like I don't like. I know Illinois is serious. Texas is like way serious. They take it too serious, but that's okay. The area where we're moving to they're very clean cities. At least that part of Texas is. But the lakes and the outdoors are a different story. They're still clean, but they're kind of rowdy, and I know how they get down there. So I will definitely have my fishing license. I think you don't have to get them until August. So hold off until August because you can get a new one. You have to get a new one in August in Texas, or is that the hunting? Either way, these are just some things to encourage you guys to get out there in the ponds. If you want to go fishing, you don't have to go drive an hour or 45 minutes or 30 minutes away. Maybe there's a pond that and we're not talking about a runoff place. We're not talking about a sewer place where it just filled up last week. You're going to find a fucking shoe or somebody's water bottle in there. You're not finding no fish there. We're talking about a pond that's been there for a while. People actually have fished. You've seen it. Look for the signs. Make sure there's not a no trespassing sign. Respect the people around you. And make sure that when you're there, you have your license. You want to, and take into effect any kind of laws that you have. Like you said, you can't fish with any kind of bait that you're not supposed to have, or live bait. I mean, whatever you do, Brian, don't invite me to that place. That I love live bait. Live bait's like king to me. But remember, like, there's a little code of ethics, like a little bro code, fisherman's code. Just stick to them. Respect the land, respect the people, respect the fish.
Yep.
You know what? That's going to be my saying. Respect the land, respect the people, respect the fish. I like that.
Yep.
I think if you stick to those things, you should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to share, Brian, before we let this one wrap up?
And the other thing is make sure you understand how many lines you're allowed to have out there as well. Illinois, you're only allowed to have two.
Too.
Yeah. So and that includes like baits too. So if you have like let's just say like a Alabama rig in Illinois, you can use Alabama rigs, but only two of the lures on the Alabama rig can have hooks. So if you have an Alabama rig that has 5 different baits on it, only two can have hooks. The other three have to be non-hook baits. So you just gotta understand, like I said, your laws, and you gotta understand. Just be respectful, like Mark said. Obey the laws, and you'll be fine. You'll have no issues. And if somebody ends up calling the game warden on you or calling the cops, and they come down, just be very
You didn't
respectful.
know. Yeah, I
Be
know.
respectful, and then just pack up your stuff and go out and go on your way. So
Yeah,
do that.
don't be a
Do that.
Karen or whatever they call it.
Yeah, if you do
Don't-
that, they'll be fine. It won't. They don't cause them to escalate it, and just
yeah, de-escalation, people. De-escalation is your best friend.
yep, exactly.
So,
That's all. That's all I got.
all right, guys. Well, Brian, I'll let you leave them out with this, and we'll let you guys go.
All right, guys. Till next time. Keep your lines tight.
Bye-bye.